On this episode of the Massive Agent Podcast, I'm going to tell you why earlier this week I said I quit. I gave up. I'm done. I threw in the towel with my Alexa flash briefing. I'm going to tell you why that is. I'm going to tell you why I did it in the first place and why after 560 episodes, I am calling it quits.
The Massive Agent Podcast. With lead generation tips and strategies to get you more leads and sell more homes.
I love to buy houses. I like to sell houses.
It takes brass balls to sell real estate.
Wait a minute.
The leads are weak. You're weak.
I've had better.
Oh, have I got your attention now?
Here's your host, Dustin Brohm.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 114 of the Massive Agent Podcast, the I Quit episode. I'm just calling it that because that's what we're talking about, is me quitting. This is an Industry Syndicate production, the first and only real estate podcast network in our industry. And this is, of course, scientifically proven to be the number one show in our industry that starts with the word massive, and the number one show hosted by me. It's a fact, accolades we're very, very proud of. If you are new to the show, welcome. My name is Dustin Brohm, your host, and I am the co-founder of the Industry Syndicate Real Estate's podcast network. I am an agent in Salt Lake City, Utah with eXp Realty. I'm a weekly columnist for Housing Wire and the founder of the Massive Agent Society, our one agent per market lead gen training and coaching program. It's part online course, part coaching, part mentoring, part Facebook ads, copy paste database, and only one agent per market can join. So there are quite a few markets still available. Go to massiveagentsociety.com to see if yours is. If so, claim it before one of your competitors does. I am going to be telling you a story today of why I decided after 560 episodes, daily episodes, 560 daily episodes of my Alexa flash briefing called the Massive Agent Minute, why I'm throwing in the towel. And the lesson there, look, I've been wanting to, once I hit episode 500, I was like, awesome, this is great. I'm going to go to, next stop, episode 1000. But a few weeks later, something like that, I was just like, you know what? It's just getting to be too much. And it's more than that. It's more than just the mental energy, because it's not a huge time commitment. My flash briefings were anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes per day. That's not a huge time commitment. And yes, then you got to download the file. You have to upload it to your host, write a quick description, and hit publish. It's not a huge thing, but the mental energy. I'll get to this in a second because there's more of a story to it. But guys, sometimes the most productive thing you can do is to stop doing certain things. It really is. And I've embraced this. And this is really the first thing this major thing that I made a commitment to years ago, that I decided, you know what? It's just not working. It's just not working for me right now. And so I stopped. And there's power in that. And I feel absolutely at peace. I feel amazing about it. And so I wanted to share this with you because I know a lot of you guys who feel like you're spread too thin or that you're not making any progress in any one thing. I know that this will resonate with you and hopefully give you permission, or rather, who the hell am I? Really give yourself permission to give yourself permission to let something go, to stop doing something that just isn't working. But of course, we're going to dive into, is it really not working, or are you just, do you suck at it? Are you not doing a good job? Are you putting out stuff that people don't want to see or hear? There's lots of variables to it, and we'll go over all that. Before I do, I want to give a shout out to all of you guys that have left a review on Apple Podcasts. Most recent review is from Chris S. in Las Vegas. It says, the best podcast for lead gen in real estate. There's so much value in this podcast and actionable tips that is changing my life. Dustin B knows his stuff and is generously sharing it with us for free. Support, support, support. Chris, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It's amazing how just one message from you guys, one review, one something like being tagged or having you guys recommend this show in one of those, there's so many agents out there that are like, what are your favorite real estate podcasts? And you guys that mention this show and tag me or tag the Massive Agent Podcast, that means so much to me. First, it helps us find new listeners and helps us reach a new audience. So thank you. But it keeps me going. It keeps me going because I do this to help agents who are in the shit. Okay, you're having a rough time. Either you're just getting started in this crazy competitive industry, or something's not working. You're not where you want to be, and you're looking for solutions. You're looking for ideas or strategies to fill in the missing pieces to help you get to where you want to go. I know what it's like to be there, to not be able to pay your bills and not have an income, or at least income that's few and far between, that it's just not sufficient, and you're ready to give up. I've been there. And so I do it for you guys, knowing how that felt, and knowing that by me opening my mind to some new concepts and following what others who had come before me, what they were doing, it changed everything for me. That's why I do the show. And so when I hear that it has made an impact, it keeps me going. It's a completely, I'm trying to avoid using the phrase "a breath of fresh air" because that's not even right in the context. But it's a shot in the arm, is what it is. I have a lot going on, and this show takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, at least a lot of mental energy. Thinking about what I'm gonna do, and then promoting it so that people know it exists and listen to it. And so it's a shot in the arm and a reminder of why I'm doing it. So thank you guys. One thing I would ask, okay, if you've left a review or not, cool. We're really trying to get into the top 10 in the iTunes, the Apple podcast charts, the top 10 for podcasts. The biggest indication is actually subscribers. How many people have subscribed in the last 48 hours? So I ask you, whether you've subscribed to the show or not, go subscribe. If you have already, unsubscribe. Okay, go unsubscribe to this podcast right now. You're not going to hear that very often from too many hosts, but go unsubscribe specifically in Apple Podcasts. Unsubscribe and then resubscribe. It's not a very sophisticated system, so they're like, oh, here's a new subscriber. It can help us get into the top 10. Yes, I'm playing around with it, growth hacking a little bit. I really don't care because I think this is a top 10 show, and I want your help to get there. So please subscribe, ask someone in your office or a colleague, share the show with them, and ask them to subscribe as well. And if we can do that in a short period of time, boom, we could be a top 10 podcast. And we're going for Gary Vee as a guest. We're going for Gary Vee, going for Ed Milet, going for Tony Robbins, and the sky's the limit. So having a top 10 show would certainly make it attractive to them. Thank you guys. All right, so let's get into why I called it quits on the Alexa flash briefing. So I don't know how many of you guys have ever heard it. It's usually it's a much smaller audience that would listen to my Alexa flash briefing than would listen to the podcast. And it makes sense. Alexa's kind of goofy, with flash briefings, it's one episode at a time. And then if there was another one the next day, the previous days would disappear. And so it's really like a news flash type of thing. So the reason that I started it, you guys know that I'm a big fan of Gary Vee, and not just like him personally, but he has his finger on what works today in marketing. And he says things in a way and delivers them in a way that really resonates with me. And so every time I followed his advice, it's led to major positive impacts in my business. Major, like jumping up a level, if you will, for lack of a better analogy. I've been able to do a lot of great things because of his advice and how it inspired me at the moment. And he's been talking about Alexa for quite a while, or at least he was. Alexa showed so much promise, and I honestly, guys, believe it still does. I still think we're early to this whole Alexa thing. And because of that, the audience just wasn't there. It wasn't growing. Now, I know there's a lot of variables to this, guys. Just because your audience numbers aren't growing the way you want doesn't mean there's something wrong with Alexa. Okay, it could be my show sucked. It could be I did a crap job promoting it, which I did. I didn't do a whole lot of promotion outside of this podcast for the Massive Agent Minute. Probably should have, and that would have helped. But even still, even with that and the amount of effort I was putting into it, I didn't see the growth, wasn't getting the response or engagement that I thought would be there after almost 2 years. And so I decided it's time to give it up. It's not all about the numbers. like I said, I kind of fell out of love with doing it. And, it's just one of those things. So back in May of 2018, I went to, May of 2018, I went to a conference in New York City called VoiceCon. Such an amazing, impactful event. So it was done by VaynerMedia, Gary Vee. This was back when he was really hot on Alexa and voice and podcasting. And I had just launched this show in January of that year. So January of 2018, I launched this show. In May, they did VoiceCon in New York City. And at the time, I had never been to New York. I was and still am obsessed with New York City. I think it is the coolest city ever. I mean, we grow up seeing all these different landmarks, all these different places and shows and movies. And, you just can't beat New York City. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. And so I'm like, wait a minute, I can learn about this voice platform, this voice medium that I'm now in with my podcast. I can learn how to do it better and go to New York. So I did. I brought the family, I brought my wife and my 2 kids, and we went. And at the time, I'm like, you know what? It's my first time to New York. I'm going to do this thing. Like, if we're going to go to New York, let's freaking go to New York. So naturally, we got a hotel room overlooking Central Park, on Central Park South, as they call Billionaires Row. And we stayed at the Park Lane Hotel. Now, don't get all crazy thinking, oh my God, that must have been thousands of dollars. Well, it was, because we stayed a week. But this hotel, the Park Lane, it's right next to the plaza from Home Alone 2 fame, where Kevin runs into Donald Trump down in the lobby. Anyways, I love Home Alone 2. But right next to the plaza, it overlooks Central Park. You have to pay more for, a park view room, of course. But even still, it was about as much as a Courtyard Marriott would have been in some random part of Manhattan. Like, it wasn't a lot of money compared to the cost of everything else. We're like, hell yes. So we stayed overlooking Central Park. Absolutely incredible. I cannot wait to get back there. But the very first day, I wake up in the morning. We flew in late the previous night, so I hadn't even really seen the city except for coming in from the airport. I wake up early the next morning, go to VoiceCon. I take an Uber, which is a dumb idea in Manhattan. I should have just jumped on the subway, but you live and learn. I go down to the event, and amazing. It was right on the waterfront over in Chelsea at the IAC building, Interactive Corp at their building. Is this weird, like, architectural museum looking like Guggenheimish type thing. I don't know how to describe it. It was just weird. Cool architecture. Amazing event, top notch. And they had execs from Google and Chase Bank and what's the liquor company, Diageo, and all these podcast network companies and technology companies were there talking about why voice marketing is so great. And I'm like, that's great. I have a podcast. This is fantastic. Then they start talking about Alexa flash briefings and how they're like mini podcasts. So I'm like, wait a minute, I'm already doing a podcast that's once a week. You're telling me that there's now people can listen on Alexa. And I heard Gary Vee talk about Alexa, and I'm like, wait a minute, this actually sounds doable. This actually sounds like something I can do since now I know how to do a podcast. It's literally the same thing. It's just an audio file that you send to the Alexa platform as opposed to the podcast players. And so I'm like, cool, I'm going to do this. So May of 2018, I launched the Massive Agent Minute, and I'm like, I'm going to do it 7 days a week. And I hit it hard. And my thought was it would just be an extension of this podcast where any thought that came into my mind that I thought would be helpful to you guys, like a story about a transaction that I was dealing with, or a tip, or a book recommendation, or anything I thought would be valuable or entertaining. And so I started doing it, and I had a blast. But guys, 560 episodes is a lot. That's a lot. And I travel a lot more now. It really became a problem when I had to record 7 of them in a row one night and then release one every day. It just got to be a lot. Here's why ultimately I decided to throw in the towel with the flash briefing, because I started it fully expecting Alexa would take off. It really hasn't. It really hasn't. I think we're early. Look, here's the thing, guys. And here's why on my flash briefing, if you've heard it, and by the way, I turned it into a podcast So it's not just a flash briefing. You can actually go to Apple Podcasts, find the Massive Agent Minute, and go listen to previous episodes. I did that because I was tired of these episodes I was spending this time on disappearing. So I made it a podcast to increase how many people could see it. If you're a marketer, you want as many people as possible to see your content. So I put it out there on Apple Podcasts, which makes it available on Overcast and Pocket Casts and a few other podcast players. So I did that. And even with that, I just didn't see the growth. Okay. The Alexa platform could be huge if Amazon decides to push it. If Amazon decides to really do a big marketing push behind flash briefings and what Alexa can really do for you besides just order stuff and set timers and, read the news and recipes and stuff, if they really tell you how to get to the content that's on it, it'll take off. So now I'm primed. I'm ready if I still have the feed. If all of a sudden Amazon's like, hey, we're going to make flash briefings a big focus, I can jump on and I'm a pro at it. I know exactly what to do. I already have an audience. I already have the feed. I already have everything. I can just start it up again. But for the foreseeable future, I am done with the Massive Agent Minute flash briefing. I just got to the point where I wasn't excited to do it. Not just because of stagnant growth, because it's not all about that. It's really not. I knew from the beginning it wouldn't be nearly the size of audience as this show, and I was totally cool with that. But to see that it really didn't grow much, and I thought, okay, maybe it's Alexa because not many people are listening to flash briefings. I think that's part of it. Is it my content that maybe people they don't want to hear about it 7 days a week, or maybe, what I'm saying, they don't want to hear about it 7 days a week? Probably. That's probably part of it. Now, I could change and completely do a new format and all that. I just got to the point after 560 episodes, that extra effort and the mental energy to prepare for it, which is a big deal, I didn't want to do it. It was not worth it to me anymore. So I made the decision, even though it doesn't take a ton of time, it did take a lot of mental energy. I want to be able to focus more on building the Industry Syndicate podcast network and all the amazing things going on behind the scenes there. I wanted to focus more on my family, focus more on this show, growing this show and doing better content for this show and a couple other things. Travel made it tough. I really enjoy speaking and going to conferences and going to do CE classes for realtors in their towns and, all this stuff. I love that. And the more I travel, the harder it is to stay consistent with a daily show. And I can always start again. Look, I really believe, guys, if you get to the point where you just don't enjoy doing anything anymore, and every time that you go to do it, you're like, oh my God, crap, I've got to do that thing again. That's not healthy. Now, I'm not saying quit everything, quit everything that is burdensome or everything that you aren't stoked to do, because there's more to it than that, of course. But I think 560 episodes, I gave it more than a try. Damn near 2 years of doing a flash briefing consistently, for the most part, every single day, even Saturday, even Sunday. There were some technical issues in there where it kept playing the same episode every day. Sometimes I was traveling or couldn't do an episode, but for the most part, 99% of the time, it was every day. I didn't half-ass it. I gave it all I could. And I decided that time, even if it's 10 minutes a day, that time, that mental energy, that focus was not worth it anymore. I'd rather that 10 minutes of actual time and then the mental energy, I'd rather that be spent on this show and the other things that I mentioned. Sometimes removing things from your plate is the most productive thing you can do. You've heard the phrase, the man who chases 2 rabbits catches none, because you need to focus. If you're going to catch one of those rabbits, you have to focus on one, catch it, and then go catch another one. And I'm spread too thin as it is. I'm outsourcing as best I can and learning how all that works. It's anytime you go from doing everything yourself to now having other people do certain things for you, there's a learning curve to that. It takes trial and error. Not everyone you hire is going to be great, and then maybe they are great, but you suck at training them on what you want done. That's on you. That's on me. So there's lots of variables to it. It's not moving as fast as I wanted. So I wanted to put more focus and energy on growing and outsourcing and building and scaling my business. So for you guys that have sent a message ever since Tuesday, the last episode 560, came out on Tuesday, February 25th. Everyone who sent a message, thank you. I appreciate it. I promise you I'm not going anywhere with this show. I honestly, this move, the reason I threw in the towel on the Massive Agent Minute is to focus even more on this. This show is going nowhere. I am not going anywhere. You're going to see me more. And now my intention is to replace the Massive Agent Minute with more video. Is that a daily video? Realistically, probably not. Multiple times per week, more than I'm doing now? Absolutely. Absolutely. So sometimes you need to just let go of what it is that doesn't excite you. It's not doing a whole lot for you. Maybe it did in the beginning. I got what I wanted out of it. Now I am a master of Alexa flash briefings. I know how it works. I know everything about it. So if Amazon ever decides to really push them, I'm ready to jump in and dominate. And, until then, I'm going to focus on other things. So if you are one of those bummed, if you're one of the 2 or 3 people who's bummed that the Massive Agent Minute disappeared, I apologize, but this show's going nowhere. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. That's where I'm most active, at Massive Agent, or my name, Dustin Brohm, on LinkedIn. And you're going to be seeing a lot more from me there, and then better stuff from this podcast. So that is why ultimately I decided to quit doing the Massive Agent Minute Alexa flash briefing. And look, guys, sometimes we do things that worked really well in the beginning. They were getting a lot of traction, and then they fizzle out. Not everything we do is meant to be done into perpetuity. I do think with most things, you should start something planning on just doing it forever. But then in practice, you're not going to be doing it forever. Like, I'm not going to be doing this, even though this podcast, I have no end in sight whatsoever. I'm not going to be doing it forever. I'm not going to be a 60-year-old doing the Massive Agent podcast. I'm not going to do it. Like, something else will happen, and things change. You've got to roll with the punches. Here's what I want you guys to do. Here's what I challenge you to do. What is it that really is dragging on you, that you really hate doing, and whenever you have to do it, you're like, oh God, I've got to do that thing again. Damn it. I just want to go to bed, but I've got to do that thing. What is that? And then ask yourself honestly, is it crucial to your business, to your life, to your family, whatever it is, whatever that thing is it crucial? Is it necessary? Is it something that you must continue doing? And if not, think about, is it worth continuing to do? A lot of times it's not. A lot of times if you're going to win, not just in this business, but in life, you have to do things that you enjoy. You have to do things that you really like to do and want to do, because you cannot do them long enough to win if you hate them or if you're not good at them or whatever. I got to the point where I'm like, I can't keep doing this flash briefing thing. It's just not working anymore. I need to focus that time and energy on the other stuff that I am passionate about, that is working well, that is growing, that I am seeing better results from, that is making more of an impact. Do that audit in your own life. I'm telling you guys, it feels really freaking good. At first, I'll be totally honest. When I first made the decision that episode 560 would be my last, well, first I decided it would be 575. But once I wrapped my head around the fact that, hey, I was ending this soon, I'm like, I can't do another 2 weeks of this shit. I'm done. I'm done. So I did it 560. Would have been 559, but I wanted a nice round number at 560. So I did that. And I'm so at peace with it, even though at first, because I'm so big on consistency and doing stuff long enough to win, at first I was like, you're being a bitch about this. You've just got to keep going. You've got to at least hit episode 600. Then you got to at least hit episode 1000. And I'm like, you know what? It's not worth it, because the other part to that is it worth taking your time? Is it worth it to you? Whatever that means to you. Whatever that means to you. Okay. I can't tell you if it's worth it or not. Is it worth it to you to keep doing something you don't want to do anymore? Sometimes the answer is yes, and you've just got to suck it up and do it. It depends on what it is. But this, my flash briefing, it just wasn't working. It wasn't growing. I wasn't enjoying it. It was easy to let go. So I look back completely at peace, and now I'm looking for more things to cut because I know how good it feels. The last few nights I've been able to, I go to the gym late. It helps me wind down. And usually I'd come home from the gym and then do a flash briefing. Now I'm just like, oh, I can relax. Even though it's not 5-10 minutes, it's not a big deal. Just knowing that I can actually shut my mind off now has been so nice. And it's helped me wake up the next morning even more passionate, more fired up, and ready to go. So I'm looking for more things to cut, more things to remove from my plate. I encourage you to do the same. Make sure it's not something that you're just throwing in the towel too early about. And I wish I could help you on a one-on-one basis to figure out where you're at in that. That's a personal thing. Are you just being a bitch about it? Maybe. I've been a little bitch about a lot of stuff, and I'm sure I will be in the future. But this is something I'm totally in peace about. And I kind of wish I would have stopped at episode 500. But I'm glad I didn't. It is what it is. It is what it is. I did it. I did it. 560 episodes. Most people don't do 10 episodes of anything. So I'm pretty stoked. I'm pretty proud of myself. And, I could always start it up again, but doesn't look like it. That's the story. Sticking to it. So guys, audit yourself. What can you remove from your plate? And then once you do it and you feel good about it, look for more. I'm looking for more. I'm looking for more stuff I can cut loose or outsource. If it's important stuff, I'll outsource it. I'll have someone else do it so that I can do more of the income producing activities, more of the stuff that I love to do, the stuff that makes me happy. And that's the game. How can we be more productive? How can we grow our business while being happy about it, focusing on what we like doing, what we're good at, and just either outsourcing the rest or eliminating it completely? I encourage you to do it, guys. It feels really freaking good. Thanks for sitting through that. Hopefully that's helpful to you guys. Hopefully just hearing my thoughts on why I decided after 560 episodes to quit. Hopefully that helps. I just want to help you find something that you can eliminate that really isn't doing anything for you other than dragging you down or stressing you out or holding you back. You don't have to do everything that you start forever. Life's not meant to be that way. If you can learn to pivot at the right times in the right ways, that is what makes a successful person. I truly believe that I've made the right move here. And so I'm excited for you guys to explore that in your own lives, in your own business, whatever that means to you. So thank you so much, guys. I'm going to wrap it up, but the Massive Agent Minute is over. It's been a good ride. Make sure if you've already subscribed to this show, please unsubscribe and then resubscribe on Apple Podcasts. I'm trying to do this little growth hack thing that I heard about on the My First Million podcast that put on by The Hustle, the daily email newsletter. They're doing that, and they said that they've jumped way up in the charts, and their audience growth has jumped up with it. So I'm like, well, shit, if that works, please unsubscribe and then resubscribe to the show. And if you haven't yet, please do it. Do it as right now on your podcast player. If you're on your phone, which I know 83% of you are. Actually, I think it's more than that. Here, let me look at the stats. So let's see, mobile. What do we got here? So 76% of you guys listen on Apple Podcasts. So that's the last 5 episodes. I'm going to go through my stats here. This is really interesting. The Apple Podcasts app, the purple podcast player app on your iPhone, 72% of listeners come from that. Let's see what else. 76% of listens to this show, my almost 200,000 downloads, has come from mobile. So 76% of every single download has been on a phone. Why did I even look that up? I was talking about on your phone. Oh yeah. So 76% of you guys are on your phones right now. Open the Apple Podcast app, which 72% of you guys are on. Click on subscribe and then subscribe again. Please do it right now before you forget. Don't put it on your to-do list. Don't put off till tomorrow what you can do right frickin' now. By the way, one of my mentors that actually unfortunately passed a year or so ago, One of the best things he ever taught me, aside from how to be I'm trying to figure out how to word this without getting too personal. I'm not even going to go there. When it comes to running a business and being a successful person, he taught me, do not put off till tomorrow what you can do right fricking now. He didn't say fricking. So it had a big impact. Don't put off till tomorrow what you can do right now. And when there's something that you are deciding whether or not you should do it now or later, think, what would a billionaire do? What would a successful CEO do? And depending on the context, if it's not in a business context, if it's in a family one or a spiritual, what would a successful dad do? What would a successful church leader or whatever, what would they do in this situation? And it helps you be more productive. So I say all that. Hopefully that little bit of advice is helpful, because it sure was for me. It really made an impact on me. Don't put off till tomorrow what you can do right frickin' now. But I say that to get you to subscribe to the podcast, to help us get into the top 10 and 10x our audience. It'd be freaking awesome, because I'm telling you, we're going for Tony Robbins and Ed Mylett and Gary Vee and all of them. We're going to get all of them. Thank you guys for listening so much. I appreciate it. If you leave a review, I will read it on the show next week as well. And make sure, since we're not doing the flash briefing, make sure you follow @MassiveAgent on Facebook and Instagram. And then you guys know I am an agent with EXP in Salt Lake. I have a page on my website with a video that explains why I am with EXP, why I personally am so excited about EXP. If you have an open mind and you want to see what else is out there, and you want to see the reason why EXP Realty is growing as fast as it is, it's the #1 organically growing brokerage out there. If you want to see why, go to massiveagentpodcast.com/EXP and click play. That's it. If you want to talk to me afterwards, right there embedded on the page below the video player is my calendar. Schedule a 30-minute Zoom call with me. We'll dive in, figure out if it's a good fit for you or not. If you see it and you're like, not for me, cool. At least now you know. But get the information at massiveagentpodcast.com/EXP. Guys, thank you so much. This has been an Industry Syndicate production. I'll see you again next week for episode 115. Take care.